Radhe Radhe. Good morning, everyone. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijan Navalabha Girivaradhari. Gopijan Navalabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Varachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stotra Satta Shishimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Nitilira Pravishtam Vishnupad Paramahansa Stotra Satta Shishimad Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. New York's beautiful Radha Govinda Mandir ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki, Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagna ki, Brihat Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki, Samaveta Bhaktarinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Just like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to assimilate more learning on the beautiful Amala Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, and thanks to all of you for being here, especially His Grace Hansa Rupa Prabhu and His Grace Ramroy Prabhu, Mother Shobhamai, for all of your ongoing blessings and faith in me. Thank you. I would also like to ask for the blessings of the Vaishnav community, both those who are present and those who are listening over the internet now and in the future. I am a little out of my league sitting up here on the Vyasa sun, so I need your mercy. Thank you. Okay, we will start with the verses. We are on Canto 4, Chapter 14, and today we're reading verses 4 and 5. So, I don't have my book in front of me. Let me see if I have that. I have them right here. Okay. Sa aruda nirpastana unadosta vibhuti avamene mahabhagan stabda sambhavitas vataha. Sa aruda nirpastana unadosta vibhuti avamene mahabhagan stabda sambhavitas vataha. Sa aruda nirpastana unadostva vibhuti avamene mahabhagan stabda shambhavitas vataha. Please chant. Sa aruda nirpastana unadostva vibhuti avamena mahabhagan stabdva sambhavitas vataha. Sa aruda nirpastana unadostva vibhuti avamene mahabhagan stabda shambhavitas vataha. Sa aruda nirpastana unadostva vibhuti avamena mahabhagan stabda sambhavitas vataha. Sa aruda nirpastana unadostva vibhuti avamena mahabhagan stabda sambhavita svataha. Word for word. Saha, King Vena, Aruda, ascended to, Nripa Stanaha, the seat of the king. Unadaha, very proud. Asta, 8. Vibhupti bihi, by opulences. Avamene, began to insult. Mahabhagan, great personalities. Stabdaha, inconsiderate. Sambhavitaha, considered great. Svataha, by himself. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki! When the king ascended to the throne, he became all-powerful with 8 kinds of opulences. Consequently, he became too proud. By virtue of his false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone. Thus, he began to insult great personalities. Let's repeat together. When the king ascended to the throne, he became all-powerful with 8 kinds of opulences. Consequently, he became too proud. By virtue of his false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone. Thus, he began to insult great personalities. Purport. In this verse, the word ashta vibhuti bihi, meaning by 8 opulences, is very important. The king is supposed to possess 8 kinds of opulences. By dint of mystic yoga practice, kings generally acquired these 8 opulences. These kings were called rajarsis, kings who were also great sages. By practicing mystic yoga, a rajarsi could become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, and could get whatever he desired. A rajarsi could also create a kingdom, bring everyone under his control, and rule everyone. These were some of the opulences of a king. King Vena, however, was not practiced in yoga, but he became very proud of his royal position nonetheless. Because he was not very considerate, he began to misuse his power and insult great personalities. And at this point, I will read text 5 so you can understand the flow. Evam mandanda utshikto nirakusha iva dvipa paryantan ratam astaya kampayan iva rodasi. Translation. When he became overly blind due to his opulences, King Vena mounted a chariot and, like an uncontrolled elephant, began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and earth to tremble wherever he went. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadandikam Andeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrat Jahatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karano Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Torubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Verses 4 and 5. When the king ascended to the throne, he became all-powerful with 8 kinds of opulences. Consequently, he became too proud. By virtue of his false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone. Thus, he began to insult great personalities. When he became overly blind due to his opulences, King Vena mounted a chariot and, like an uncontrolled elephant, began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and earth to tremble wherever he went. So we'll take a close look at this verse 4. 4 qualities stand out here. This king was all-powerful. He wasn't a weak king. He was a very, very strong king. And how is that? Because he was equipped with the 8 kinds of opulences. These are the Asta Vibhutis. As a result of that, King Vena became proud. This is a unbalanced situation where one is worshiping oneself. The word for that is ahangraho pasana. And we see that historically in the Bhagavatam, with characters like Kamsa and Hiranyakashipu. They really think there's no one better than them. And that leads to a superiority complex. So superiority comes when we forget that we are, by design, servants of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord. So this is a far cry from that. And as a result of that superiority complex, he began feeling free to put aside everyone who may seem like an opponent in that. So what he did, he began to insult great personalities. So he's using his potency to minimize others. This is very inappropriate for anyone in a Kshatriya dharma. There was a slogan that became very popular in the 70s to describe the functions of the police department. And the police were starting to get a bad name because of the incidents in the 1960s where there was needless brutality. So they came up with this nice slogan it was called "To Protect and to Serve." This is what Kshatriyas need to do. But here we see someone in a kshatriya position who, instead of protecting and serving, he wants to plunder and exploit. This was King Vena. This is his attitude at the outset. Very, very difficult. So, with your permission, I would like to unpack the idea of the Ashtavibhutis. The Ashtavibhutis are opulences that have a material application. Ashta, 8, vibhuti, opulence. We often associate with, or we should associate with Sri Krishna, the 6 opulences. But these Ashta vibhutis are different in that they're acquired. They can be acquired by the jivas. And who acquires them? Well, some examples of personalities that have acquired them throughout the Bhagavatam chronicles are Lord Shiva and Lord Narada. Sage Narada, I should say. Sage Narada. They have these 8 opulences. And Lord Rasabdev actually was offered them, and he rejected them. We're going to delve into that, why they were rejected. So let's now move over to the 11th canto, chapter 15, and we can look at these very carefully. The name of this chapter, I was delighted to find this, a whole chapter in the Bhagavatam, exclusively describing the mystic yoga perfections. So, to define them, text 3, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "The masters of the yoga system have declared that there are 18 types of mystic yoga and meditation, of which 8 are primary, having their shelter in me, and 10 are secondary, appearing from the material mode of goodness." There's actually a third group that we will discover in this chapter, and they are also listed by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. There they are considered the great mystic cities, the medium mystic cities, and the smaller mystic cities. So what we're concerned with here, what King Vena received, were the 8 great ones, or primary. So now we move to text 4 and 5, where they're fortunately listed and described for our understanding. Among the 8 primary mystic perfections, the 3 by which one transforms one's own body are, so these are the first 3, Anima, becoming smaller than the smallest, Mahima, becoming greater than the greatest, and Lagima, becoming lighter than the lightest. And as I'm going through these and reading them, I'm trying to come up with examples for each one of jivas who have exercised these powers. And I wasn't able to come up with one for every single one, but at least for Anima, becoming smaller than the smallest, that was illustrated by Hanuman in the Ramayana, when he was trying to pass some of the guards preventing him from entering Sri Lanka. He made himself really small and he slid under the door. So there's another personality who was empowered. Good morning. Then Mahima, becoming greater than the greatest, heavier than the heaviest. I couldn't find an example for that. Lagima, becoming lighter than the lightest. Perhaps an example would be Lord Jesus Christ, who exhibited his power to walk on water, which can only be possible if your body is weightless. These are astonishing. And these three have to do with transforming your own body. Now, the subsequent 5 have to do with mental powers. So, continuing with text 4 and 5, through the perfection of prapti, one acquires whatever one desires. And as I read this, I'm thinking, these powers are actually, we are using our technology now to come into using, creating a facsimile of these powers for our own. So with prapti, I'm thinking you can pick up your credit card, you can go on Amazon, you can order something from Japan, and it will come to America in 5 days, and it will be there at your doorstep. To me, that's a mystic city. It's amazing. That was not possible years ago, and now here it is. Next, prakamya. Through prakamya city, one experiences any enjoyable object, either in this world or in the next. So that's something that perhaps only the elite and well-to-do of this world are trying to recreate. Next, through Ishita, and Prabhupada lists this in the second canto as pronounced Ishitva. Ishita city, one can manipulate the subpotencies of Maya. The subpotencies of Maya. I couldn't find an example for that one. But in the Bhagavatam, there's probably some incidences. If anyone comes up with one, please let me know. And through controlling the potency called Vaishita siddhi, one is unimpeded by the 3 modes of nature. So there are instances historically of some yogis controlling the weather. And if it's raining all around, the yogi will create a space where everything is dry. One who has acquired kama vaisayita siddhi can obtain anything from anywhere to the highest limit. And also in the second canto, Srila Prabhupada rephrases that definition, and he says, kama vaisayita means you can assume any shape that is imaginable. That's unthinkable. No one has quite mastered that one yet. But they have been mastered by some mystic yogis. But what I'm saying is that they're not very common. They're not very common here in the midst of Kali Yuga. The next text, 6 and 7, will list the 10 secondary vibhutis. I'll just go over them quickly. Powers of freeing oneself from hunger and thirst, hearing and seeing things far away, moving the body at the speed of the mind, assuming any form one desires, entering the bodies of others, dying when one desires. Now we know someone who had that power. That was Bhishma Dev. Witnessing the pastimes between the demigods and the celestial girls called apsaras. Completely executing one's determination and giving orders whose fulfillment is unimpeded. These sound very appropriate for a ruling king. Hopefully a king who has the welfare of his subjects in mind, but how King Vena is going to use them, we're going to see. It's a different flavor. And then there's 5 more, text 8 and 9. The power to know past, present, and future. Tolerance of heat, cold, and other dualities. Knowing the minds of others. Checking the influence of fire, sun, water, poison, and so on, and remaining unconquered by others. These are amazing. It comes to 23 altogether. And this is what King Vena had in his portfolio as he took off into his tirade of destruction for his kingdom. I wouldn't say destruction, I should say bullying. He's bullying. So, how do these arise? How do these arise? How does one obtain these mystic cities? Back in text 1 of the same chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Uddhava, the mystic perfections of yoga are acquired by a yogi who has conquered his senses, a yogi who has steadied his mind, and a yogi who has conquered the breathing process and fixed his mind on me." So that's quite a refinement. Did King Vena have this refinement? It seems not. And this chapter, when you have some time, you can look it over from text 10 through 31, and explains how each mystic city is attained. There's a specific process for each one. It's very, very exacting. So I'll just read one as an example. Fixing his mind completely on me, this is text 13. Fixing his mind completely in me within the element of false ego generated from the mode of goodness, the yogi obtains the power of mystic acquisition, by which he becomes the proprietor of the senses of all living entities. The essential element of all of these processes is that one has to focus one's mind, absorption and heart on Lord Sri Krishna. So this is repeating what is given in the Bhagavad Gita 647. Yoginam api savisham madgaten nattar atmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. One who always abides in me, thinks of me, renders loving service unto me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga. So that is your basic requirement for each and every one of these mystic powers. Again, did King Vena possess that? Was that his intention, to focus his mind on Lord Sri Krishna? So for me, it's a paradox thinking of this. And at this point, I solicit your answers to my question, dear devotees, especially those of you who are scholars. I know we have many scholars here. How is it that King Vena acquired vibhutis just by ascending the throne? This is what it says in the verse. Just by ascending the throne, Vena acquired these special mystic powers. How did he do it without sadhana bhakti? I would love to hear some insights into that, because I'm a little confused. Maybe Ramra has some insight. That's it.
Sometimes you have to go down before you go up.
We have to swing wide. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Beautiful answer. Ram Roy is saying it's because that you have to have the extreme negative before you have the extreme positive. Well, that was the intention. But it was a graceful move of the Lord to swing that way and then to create the right conditions for King Prithu's appearance. And as we contemplate on King Venu, we see there's too much likeness to our current administrative occupants who are also not so much in the mood of protect and to serve. They're in the mood of plunder and exploit. And we can only hope that Lord Sri Krishna is preparing some positive occurrence on the other end from what's happening now. All right, that's text 4, and now text 5. I'll go back and we'll take a look at that. I'll read the verse again. When he became overly blind due to his opulences, King Vena mounted a chariot and, like an uncontrolled elephant, began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and earth to tremble wherever he went. So his reign of terror is hereby beginning, and it is marked by blind destruction. King Vena is like a loose cannon. He acts whimsically and without any respect or regard to the needs of the citizens in general. Very unfortunate. We're going to be rereading more of this in subsequent verses, so I won't divulge that. So we have. There is another verse I want to, very important verse, back in the 15th chapter. And that is text 33. 33. This is a disclaimer for all of these amazing yogic powers, the vibhutis. Reading them, we think, wouldn't that be great to have this kind of control over ourselves, over others, over our environment? But Lord Sri Krishna, in his talks with Uddhava, he's making it very clear. Text 33. Learned experts in devotional service state that the mystic perfections that I have mentioned are actually impediments. Impediments. And they're a waste of time for one who is practicing the supreme yoga by which one achieves all perfection in life directly from me. This is really important information, not to pursue them in addition to one's wanting to become the servant of Lord Krishna. These will pull us down and bring us to a different frame of mind than servitude. In Canto 7, Chapter 9, Verse 24 in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, all who desire advancement through the Ashta Vibhutis are punishable. Very strong words. And His Grace Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Bhajan Rahasya also lists these desire for the mystic powers under the category of asat trishna, which means untrue desires. it's not really, asat meaning it's not good for us. It's not good for us to want to follow through on that. So we can understand them. We've gone over them now. You can read more about them in this wonderful chapter 15 of Canto 11. But we don't want to make them a priority in our lives. And I also wanted to discuss the idea of what is real opulence. What is the real opulence that we are seeking here? If these opulences of the Ashtavibhutis are only on the material level, not only are they material, but they're actually not good for us, what is it that we should be pursuing in terms of opulence? In Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, verse 15, there are actually listed two kinds of opulences. There are material, those that are caused by Mahamaya, and those that are spiritual, those that come from Yogamaya. And the highest material opulence that one can acquire is the opulence of Lord Brahma. But way beyond that are the opulences of Sri Krishna. So rather than trying to go the long way, we as devotees have the knowledge and the determination to go directly to the one who owns all material and spiritual opulences. Ishopanishad, verse 1. Ishavashamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena chaktena bunjita magrida kashyasvidanam. So we understand that the actual owner of all opulences is Krishna. We, aspiring for our own selves to own these material and spiritual opulences, is misdirected. Instead, we want to glorify Lord Sri Krishna as the owner of that, and then our real self-interest will come in our relationship with him and Srimati Radharani. And also there's a beautiful verse that comes from Narottam Das Thakur. About what is real opulence. Dhanamura Nityananda Radha Krishna Shri Charan Say Mora Pranadana Say Mora Pranadana. Narottam Das Thakur says, my real riches, my real vibhuti, my real opulence are Nityananda Prabhu and the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. He further prays, O Lord, kindly give me this vibhuti. I do not want anything but your lotus feet as my property. He has sung in many different places that his real property is the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Unfortunately, we in the material world are interested in unreal vibhuti, unreal opulence, and are neglecting our real property. So hopefully this verse will set us in the right direction. So thank you very much. Thank you. Please excuse my faults. And at this point, I welcome your comments and corrections.
One speculation, what I was just thinking about, how did King Vena achieve the mystic siddhis, is he has got those powers because of being in the lineage of Yamraj. Just coming to this conclusion, I don't know whether how much right it is, but then I was just speculating, like he might be getting the yogic siddhis because of coming in the lineage of Yamaraj from his mother's side.
Thank you. I like this very much. I would say Yamaraj has many, many mystic powers to do the job that he has to do. So it's possible. We know that he's getting so much negativity from that lineage, unfortunately, but maybe there's some positive too.
But he was attracted to the wrong side of the yogic siddhis and
That's
exploiting rather than utilizing it for the right purpose. I've read this thing in Nectar of Devotion or somewhere, but it's like very important for us when it comes to this yogic siddhis. We are not attracted to them at all. And why? Because it's just a waste of time. Even if we get the yogic siddhis, it's all about we are to achieve it, we need to endeavor so much. And even if we endeavor it and if we get it, it just increases our name and false ego. And because of that thing, we lose the main thing, that is service to the Supreme Lord or devotion towards the Supreme Lord. So a devotee doesn't get attracted to these yogic siddhis, neither he wants any of the yogic siddhis. In case if he wants to use it, he will definitely use it if required. Like there is it comes in South India, in Sri Sampradaya, there was an Acharya who had the yogic siddhis of walking on the water. So he had 4 disciples, and all 4 disciples had the siddhis of becoming shorter, smaller. There is a very beautiful story. I don't remember it right now, but they eventually the king wasn't giving the funds or anything, and he was accumulating all the funds just for himself. But they wanted to construct a big Ranganath temple, or Lord Ranganath's temple. So they went and used this yogic siddhis, and they got all the wealth from the king. In fact, they robbed the wealth from the king's treasury, and then they brought it back and constructed the temple. So they used the yogic siddhis of crossing the river, walking on the river, entering into through the small hole of the lock, and opening the lock, and then carrying everything back for the construction of the temple. So devotees use it only for the service of the Lord, not for anything else, in case if they want to use it. But they are not after achieving the yogic siddhis. The more important thing, as you brought, is the greatest opulence is to achieve the lotus feet of Gaur Nitai, or to achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much for that. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Also, to add to that point, that the personalities we know as Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, etc., they're posts, meaning this is a living entity who is living in this temporary post as Lord Brahma. And just like you become the CEO of a certain business, you get all of the business's assets with it. So it kind of seemed that King Vena, because he became the king, he was in that powerful post as the emperor of the world. He was like naturally given these yogic powers as part of the position of being a king. Also, it made me think of when I can't remember exactly, my memory's failing me, the exact instance, but Srila Prabhupada was kind of asked by his disciples about these mystic cities and should we be aspiring to achieve these things? And he was saying that Krishna will empower us in how he wants us to act. It's not that these things aren't achievable. They're just not needed on the path of bhakti, because bhakti controls the Lord, who's the origin of all these mystic powers. And also, it reminded me of Nectar of Instruction, verse 2, Atyaharaha prayasascha, that we shouldn't over-endeavor for mundane things, such as the mystic cities, that are very difficult to obtain.
Thank you so very much. Some beautiful points. It's about the intention. What will you do with your power? Okay, any more? No more? Thank you very much for your patience. Forgive me my offenses. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.